Alright everyone, before you watch this video, it's gonna be hilarious because of the proposal that's being made here. So make sure that you're not like drinking any liquids because your keyboard might get fried. So I'm going to read this verbatim. This is the counter proposal by the Mexican Presidente with regards to the immigration crisis on our southern border. Here's how he thinks we can solve the problem. Yes, indeed. Reported by 60 Minutes over on Twitter. The President of Mexico's proposal for stemming immigration includes the U.S. commit $20 billion a year to poor countries in Latin America and the Caribbean. I actually partially support the basic premise. I think we should be lobbying them to get rid of the socialism that's causing them to be poor, and we should be expanding the Second Amendment's basic concept to as many countries as possible. If I were El Presidente of the United States, I would be putting enormous pressure on especially Taiwan right now on that token. But yeah, Latin America, invoke the Monroe Doctrine, say we want our hemisphere to be heavily armed. This is the new world. We don't want no invaders or any problems like that. Lift sanctions on Venezuela. Problematic. We'll get to that in a moment. End the Cuban embargo and legalize law-abiding Mexicans living in the U.S. So, just to be clear, that's like, what, 12 million people or something like that? I don't think that the economy is going to be able to take the strain. Here's the problem with those parts of the proposal. Sending money to foreign countries is all well and good. Sometimes can have a positive effect, but really it tends to get squandered by the administrations of those countries. I mean, there are exceptions. If you were to send money to Javier Milei down in Argentina, I'm sure that he would use it well, but if you send it to a socialist country, we've tried this with China before. We tried the Coca-Cola trick. When we opened up China to the world market, what happened? China became much more powerful, but it never became less authoritarian. Well, we've tried it before, so, I mean, why would it work in some Latin American banana republic? Lifting sanctions on Venezuela is going to be a hard pass because it's a communist country that is currently weaponizing its prison population against the United States, like literally trying to liquidate its prison population and send them here. I don't think that the sanctions are going to end. Even Joe Biden would be nuts enough to enact such a proposal. I really think even he probably would not do so. The Cuban embargo, I do believe in ending. We did open up gently to Cuba under Obama. This is one of the things I actually agreed with. I mean, the Cold War may not be over, but Cuba's not exactly... It's not capable of posing a threat to the United States in a direct sense. One thing that I would keep in mind is that if Cubans want to flee a literally communist country and they make it to the United States, they actually qualify for asylum. And I support that. Because if somebody's willing to sail across shark-infested waters on an inner tube just in order to leave their country, I can kind of respect that. I like the Cubans. Also, they get really great food. I would see Cuba someday, but I mean, given my political views, I'd probably be arrested as a dissident. Legalize law-abiding Mexicans living in the United States. Yes, let's legalize 12 million people. See, the problem is that Joe Biden can't actually get that accomplished. The Republicans in Congress that control the House may be cucks, but I don't think that they're quite that cucked, because then they'd get absolutely ass-blasted. I mean, they'd never win another fucking election. I have no problem with people who are from Mexico, just to be clear. I mean, I was married to a Mexican many years ago, and enjoy the culture, and Mexico is pretty cool, actually. And some people, they have a stick up their ass about Latin America, and I'm like, I don't know, they seem pretty chillaxed, in my opinion. But can the economy take that strain? Number one, probably not. Number two, would it go over well with the populace? Probably not. And number three, do the Democrats actually want to legalize any of these people, or do they want them to effectively be indentured servants in the United States for the benefit of corporations? Probably the latter. See, there's no real will by the Democratic Party to actually legalize these people. Some people keep telling me, well, the whole plan is to grant amnesty to all of these individuals, and then they'll become permanent Democratic voters. No, I don't think so. I don't think that that's the plan. I think that the plan is legalize a small chunk of people, maybe for that purpose, but mainly you want them as indentured servants. They can work, under the table and stuff like that to compensate for elements of the economy. where, natural-born citizens don't want that job. So flip the burger, sew the dress, do the brute manual labor 12 hours a day in 100-degree temperatures, stand outside of Home Depot and stuff like that. I know that these things are stereotypical, but there are people that come to the country and they're just like, they're trying to make a living, and they realize even if they're being underpaid and overworked in the United States, conditions are actually still better than in their home country. That doesn't even address the Mexican population entirely. For the first time over the last couple of years, Mexico no longer donates more than 50% of the illegal immigrants to the United States anyway. There's a lot from the rest of Latin America. You've got a lot from Haiti now. You've got a lot from China, and also Eastern Europe, which is a block of illegals that nobody ever talks about. There's something like, I thought it was a few years ago, it was something like 200,000 Poles just in the country that were illegal. They came as tourists on a tourist visa, and then they just disappeared and never left. And that's just from one country. And Poland is not exactly the most underdeveloped country in the world. Now we've got an influx of Haitians, actually, more than anything else. That'll be interesting because DeSantis swears up and down he's going to send them to Martha's Vineyard, and I really hope that happens because it will really wake up the white NIMBYist liberals. They got their share of diversity for like less than 48 hours and they were already exhausted over it. It was like, the biggest thing that ever happened in Martha's Vineyard there, other than, the rental prices going up by 10%. And watching these white NIMBYists complain about all of the dark-skinned people and saying, well, I do have a 15-bedroom home, but, those bedrooms are kind of occupied at the moment, so I don't think that I can take in any of these people. And they expected it, basically, to be that the migrants would show up with flowers and be sort of like a Mayflower moment. They'd show up with flowers and stuff and start doing a tribal dance and stuff, and the liberal white NIMBYists would clap along or something, like watching the Brown Sugar Shuffle 100 years ago. That's what they expected. Then they realized, oh no, it's almost entirely young males, and, there's no plan for them to actually be moved off the island. Quick, let's call the governor. And you just know that some of those people, by the way, have a direct line to the fucking governor there. And that's exactly why they were spirited back to the mainland very quickly. And they had to sleep in the church because nobody with a 15-bedroom home has a spare bedroom to lend out for a night or two, of course. You can just imagine when the poor migrants got there and the white NIMBYist liberals were giving them food and shit. And they're like, what's this fucking shit? Arugula? What's avocado toast? You're telling me that I'm supposed to love avocados. I'm from Venezuela. What are you talking about? I mean, God, I just wish that I had recordings of all of those interactions. Because based on the limited number of recordings that I saw, it must have been fucking hilarious. But this proposal's even more hilarious. You really think that this is going to happen? Yeah, you're going to legalize like 14 million people in one go. And Biden can obviously do that just with the stroke of a pen. So, I mean, Obrador doesn't appear to understand quite how the U.S. political system functions. But I have a feeling that he's trolling Joe Biden. He's making life difficult for him. It's very ironic that Obrador got along fairly well with Donald Trump, supposedly deeply anti-Hispanic, hates Mexicans and everything under the sun, and, a deeply racist individual who memorizes Hitler speeches every night and stuff like that. Like that was ever believable too. But then Biden, supposedly the woke progressive, which he never was, but he pretends on paper, can't even get a word in edgewise. He gets shown up by the president of goddamn Mexico. The dude is trolling you. And I fucking love every minute of this because the administration is just so ironclad stupid. It's like, every single day, my work writes itself for me. I never have to worry about a slow news day as long as Joe Biden's in office. Maybe I should be voting for him. That's about all. Peace out.